good.
Has he laid it? So he's done all the instruments.
Yeah. He's a pretty good musician, Brad.
It's very Genesis.
Yeah.
Phil Collins Genesis. It really is. Psychedelic. Maybe not the last album, but when Phil.
I think it'd be good for the podcast.
That's what
Podcast, there's a lulling conversation. You obviously go to it and have it chucks something in your face for 30 seconds and obviously reset and then carry on talking, don't they? But obviously at this point we don't have masses of advertising, do we?
Yeah, that's the purpose.
Love that, Michael. See that? Always thinking positive, isn't he? Not yet.
Yeah. Okay, welcome to the very first DadTalks podcast, brought to you from DadSpace. We've been excited about doing a podcast for about 2 or 3 years now since we started DadSpace, and we do this feature live in some of our sessions, a thing called DadTalks, which is where we bring in various dads who've had life-changing, inspiring stories to tell, and they've been a real big hit. And what we wanted to do is bring that to a podcast. I think it's really, really important that we can get these stories out to more and more people. And these stories are so powerful and so diverse that I think it's a really good platform for us to spread the word about what DadSpace is and get dads on to tell their stories, really.
Yes. So, how it can help people.
Exactly that. Yeah. But yeah, my name's Denver. I'm the founder of DadSpace, and I should introduce my colleague here who's going to be running the podcast with me, who's Mark.
I'm Mark Rees. I've been friends with Denver now for 30 years.
30 years,
possibly.
Yeah,
we've been through a lot, I would say. And when you asked me to help do this, I jumped at the chance. Never done it before. Bear with us.
Yeah.
There might be some ups and downs. But it should be good fun, going forward.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no. When we thought about doing the podcast, Mark was the first person that come to mind. I just felt the rapport we have together. We know each other really, really well, and I think it complements what DadSpace is by having us both here. And I think it works well.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're going to roll with this and see how it goes and have some fun. I think so.
Before all that, though, I reckon, Dan, we need to start right at the beginning. Obviously, some people watching this already know what DadSpace is, and then some people may have been guided to this through friends, family, etc., and don't really know what DadSpace is. So, if you can explain what DadSpace is and how it came about.
Yeah. Okay. So DadSpace is a safe.
Obviously, I know.
Yeah. Obviously, you know. Yeah. For the viewers out there and listeners who don't know, DadSpace is a safe place for all dads to talk, listen, and share experiences of fatherhood. We have everything from an expecting dad right through to granddads come to our meetings. It's really broad. And when I initially was looking to start it up, I was focusing more on expecting dads. Yeah. And new dads, because that was the situation that I was in. But speaking to a lot of our mates and stuff like that who've got older kids, teenagers and stuff, and adults, like they said, that the issues and the things you're dealing with are just different. But
you don't stop being a dad.
Exactly that. So I realised then it needs to be accessible for all dads. Yeah. And I'm very glad that we made that decision to make it for all dads, because every meeting that we do, you don't know who you're going to get, and having it there accessible for all dads just means that no one's missing out, And that was a really important decision to make there, to make it accessible for all dads.
So obviously, I've known you a long time. I obviously know the background of all this, but when we say we've known each other 30 years, so how long's DadSpace been going now?
DadSpace. It would probably be about 4 years ago when I first had the idea of it.
Okay.
I'd say
Do
around.
you want to speak to us about that?
Yeah, around sort of.
What made
I'd
you
say
think about? Because this is not a normal job.
No.
This is your everyday.
Yeah.
This is your life now. This is not a job. This is your life.
Yeah.
You're dedicated to it, which we all love. All of us do. So how did it? What made you go for it?
So the reason I decided to start it was becoming a father again for the second time.
Right. Yeah.
We had our daughter Amaya, and really sort of struggling really with whether we could financially support, having another child.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got the first one and that, and then to bring another one in, whether I'd be a good dad, whether I'd be a good partner to my wife. And I had all these things going around in my mind. And also as well, like, we obviously already had Sienna, who was 4 at the time.
Yeah. And
sort of trying to get your head round sharing the love when you've already had a child.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
I couldn't sort of understand in my head, how am I going to share that love with another child?
Yeah.
So that all these things going around in my mind.
All these things, isn't it? Money, love, all of this.
Yeah.
It's a confusing time.
Confusing, exactly that.
Yeah.
Confusing. And I had all these things going around in my mind, and I was just like, well, where can I go and talk about these things? You know, I as a dad here, I'm scared. I've got questions. I've got concerns about. I want to do what's right. I want to do what's best for my family and what's best for me, and I wanted somewhere to go and talk about it. And ultimately, there wasn't anywhere. That was the fact. There wasn't anywhere where dads could go to talk, and so I started to think about how it could work, and I started to think of a bit of a structure about how the format could work. I spoke to my wife a lot. Nina was a fantastic support there in how it could work, and I had various conversations with yourself, a lot of my other mates. Yeah. I had a very long chat with Amit, our friend Amit, about how I could structure it in terms of a talking piece circle and stuff. And there was definitely moments there where I've sort of got to have that light bulb moment, if you like, where I've gone, I know what I'm going to do now. Yeah. I know now. I know how I want it to work. And then it was just really sort of going from there, really. And like I say, the idea was 4 years ago, and we launched the very first Dad Space meeting in November of 21.
Amazing.
And
difficult time to do it as well. Obviously,
just coming out of COVID. Yeah, just coming out of COVID, and it was literally, I think, only about a month or so before that they released it. So there was talks of us going back into another lockdown. Yeah. But fortunately we didn't. And I had 15 guys come to that first meeting, and a lot of them were my friends. Yeah. I think about seven guys come along that were my friends to support, which was brilliant.
But all dads.
All dads, exactly that, yeah.
And we've all been friends a long time.
Yeah.
But it's when we all get together, whether it's, playing football or down the pub, we don't necessarily talk about the sort of things that really affect us emotionally about our families.
I think we touched on this quite a few times actually as well, about when you do go to the pub as well. It's like you're in a bubble. Yeah. You're not in the real world. You know what I mean? When you go out with your mates, the mood is generally up there. Yeah.
Just a bit of a release.
It's a release, which is great because it's good to be up there like that. And if you've got stuff going on in the back of your mind, which a lot of the time we all have. You don't tend to bring that to the forefront because you're conscious of, you're thinking, well, I don't want everyone else to start feeling down. Yeah. And actually, in this moment, I'm feeling all right, so I'm gonna park that. Yeah. And then it's not until you come back out of the bubble of being out with your mates that it's still there. Yeah. And that's where something like Dad Space is. If you're coming to a Dad Space meeting, you're coming with the intention potentially of opening up, because that is the environment that's there. It is a space
totally
to share if you wish to, so it's very different. And a lot of times as well, guys say they find it easier actually talking at a Dad Space meeting with people they don't know, with strangers.
I as I say, I have been to numerous Dad Space meetings, and you walk in, and because everybody's there for a purpose, you immediately feel your shoulder. I struggle with. I've struggled being a dad, and I've struggled with my mental health, and I've really. It's been a problem for the last, for me, probably 10 odd years, and it's always been in the back of my mind, and I've really battled with it. But in the last 2-3 years, I've really, really put my mind to it and battled, really trying to, battle against it and really try and do something about it. And with Dad Space, you immediately feel like everybody's here for the same reason. And you immediately feel like my shoulders just go down an inch. Yeah. And then within, 10, 15 minutes of you introducing yourself and telling people what Dad Space is, if they're new, etc., you've got guys that are maybe 20 years younger, as you say, have got a newborn baby, or even sometimes I've been to a meeting and they've got a baby coming.
Yeah.
And then the nice ones, I think one of the last ones I came to, there was a granddad there.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. As I say, we said earlier, we're all dads. But you just immediately feel comfortable talking.
Yeah.
Because we're all there. We're not all down the pub. It's in a nice, safe environment. We're all there because we're struggling. We want to talk about it. And it's a bit of a cliche. If you do talk about stuff, all right, it might not solve the problem there and then. But if you air your views and just get a little bit of feedback from another dad, expecting dad, a granddad, you do feel like you come away and you do feel re-energized. I do.
Yeah.
And that's a real compliment. I really do. I come away from Dad Space and I don't go as much as I should do because obviously family and stuff and bits and pieces. But you do come away from Dad Space feeling re-energized, feeling like I'm glad I spoke.
Yeah.
Maybe not for long, but I'm glad I tried to help the guy sitting next to me.
Exactly that. I think it's not just about helping yourself. It's about helping other people, isn't it?
Yeah,
by sharing
and listening.
And listen. I mean, we said this before. Listening is as important as talking.
Yeah.
At our meetings. I mean, if you come along and you don't feel ready to talk, or maybe you haven't got anything that you want to share.
Yeah.
Just by being present and listening is just as important as talking.
Yeah.
And even if someone can feel 10% better than what they did when they walked in, then surely that's a good thing, isn't it?
It's not Dad Space. You're not saying Dad Space is a magic pill. It's something that people dip in and out of.
Yeah,
they can come every time, or they can just dip in and out. I'm going to go to a Dad Space because I know Denver will be there. Good bunch of guys in a nice, safe environment for a couple of hours, and maybe, as I say, it will re-energize me, reset me to go again.
Yeah. No, exactly that. I think you're right. I mean, we had one of the dads come actually recently, and he said a really interesting thing, and it was about he'd never been before, and he sort of walked up to the door. This is where we held it in Maidstone in the Walnut Tree pub.
Yeah,
and he comes and he saw me, and he said, like, I saw Denver at the door, and he sort of greeted me, and that made me feel at ease.
Yeah,
and then he walked into the pub. Obviously, it's before we started the meeting. And straight away, he realised that he was in the right place.
Oh.
He said, like, he just felt...
That's amazing.
He just felt like this was where I'm meant to be, because he could hear the conversations going on about fatherhood. Yeah. Everyone's different stories, because everyone's just mingling and stuff like that. And he said, I just felt, this is what I needed.
Amazing.
This is what I needed, And it's just when you hear things like that, it just makes you realise that it's all worthwhile.
Yeah.
And just help those people. And it's, our sessions, they're not long. They're like 2 hours. Yeah. 2 hours on a Saturday morning. Or the ones we do in the week are from 7 till 9. So it's a small little window that you can massively help yourself.
Yeah.
And obviously now we've got 6 locations across that we run monthly meetings in.
So originally it started in Maidstone.
Yeah.
In Kent. It's gone. You speak to that. So how is it gone from 1 to how many now?
Yeah, so I mean, I suppose I should touch on really that first meeting that we had there at Maidstone. And like I say, we had 15 dads, and I think eight of the guys who come were people I'd never met before.
Yeah,
dads. And I think by the time we'd gone round the circle to about the third guy, he opened up about quite a traumatic sort of experience, like a birthing experience, and he still hadn't spoken to his wife about that. And it happened about 3 or 4 years before.
Wow.
Because he felt an element of guilt, I suppose, and didn't want to, because he didn't go through the birth. He didn't want to let her know that it affected him because of what she went through.
Yeah.
But when you see him, and obviously physically, no, it doesn't change for a man, but everything else changes. You know, your whole life is turned upside down, you know, and it's when you're physically seeing your whole world in front of you there going, you know, and your wife's there and your child's there. It's, you know, the dad just takes all that on board and just like, right, and it's, so when you've got a dad come to the group and that very first meeting, and he was able to share within 5 minutes of starting the session, and you see his shoulders
drop. Love that.
And let it out. And then it was like dominoes. Yeah. You know, then you go round, and all of a sudden then so the next guy goes, okay, so this is all right. This is okay to be vulnerable in this environment, you know, like that. And then you see it, it's like dominoes. They go around, and it's just, I remember, I think by the time we'd gone around half the room, I realised then that it was needed a lot more than what I realised.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That was definitely that moment. I knew that it was something I wanted to start up in Maidstone. I thought, I didn't really think any more past that, really. It was just sort of like, yes, this is needed. But at that point, I went, this needs to be everywhere.
Yeah. Because quite rightly, when you have a child, quite rightly, I may say, that a lot of the attention is for your wife, your partner, because they're going through it.
Obviously, yeah, absolutely.
But as you touched on just a second ago, you are there. It's not every day you're in a room and the person that you love is having, you know, it's not the sort of thing you see every day, is it?
No.
And my God, I don't think I was ready for it. It was quite a shock.
Yeah.
You know, all the things you see on television, it's an immense moment, isn't it? An amazing moment. And I'm glad I was in the room when it happened, but it did affect me quite a lot, to be honest. It's just because the person you love, they're going through it, and you feel just totally helpless, don't you?
Yes.
Totally helpless. And then obviously afterwards, there's help for the lady that's had the baby, your wife, your partner, etc. And there's not much support, I don't think. Forgive me. I don't think until this, really, I didn't know much support for the husband, boyfriend, partner.
No.
So this really, as you say, it's so needed for expecting dads, for dads that have just, 2 years old, 3-year-olds, and as I say, dads, or like we said earlier, dads that have had their kids and done the university thing. I was speaking to a guy earlier today, and both his kids have just gone travelling to Australia, right, which is not around the corner.
No.
Last time I remember, and he feels a bit lost. Feels a little bit lost. So there's dads there like that, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you really do. Because you lose your identity a little bit, I think, in those times.
You're like, what am I doing now?
What's my purpose? Yeah, because you've sort of put your priorities to one side to focus on your children, which is what we do as parents. Which is, I wouldn't change that. Yeah. But it's what's afterwards, isn't there? And that's why I always think it's important that you remember who you are, as well as your dad.
A lot of people don't.
No.
Do they?
No.
I think we can all we all get caught up in the whole, am I doing the right thing? Yeah. Is my wife, partner, girlfriend okay? Yeah. Are the kids all right? And sometimes I think I got told I was fussing too much at first, but you just want it to be right, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do. You want to protect.
Protect. Yeah. You just, and I'd never been in that situation before, so so I think it's definitely needed. So sorry, as you were saying, as you went round the circle, you within 3 people you realised.
I then realised that this needed to be everywhere.
Everywhere. So
from that point, we'd obviously had Maidstone, and then it'll be coming up to be nearly 2 years now. We've had Ashford.
Amazing.
So we've had a fantastic facilitator there, a guy called Pete Bailey, who runs Ashford for us.
So you obviously are the brains behind the brains.
Definitely not brains, no.
It was your idea, that space, right?
Yeah.
So obviously Denver can't be everywhere.
No.
So now you've obviously, as you just touched on, you've got a place down in Ashford in Kent.
Yeah.
A meeting. They meet how many times? Once
a month. So all of our meetings are monthly.
Right.
Yeah, we all once a month.
So this guy that now does, let's call him Denver 2. What's his name?
Pete Bailey.
So
yeah.
was he a guy that came along to one of the meetings originally?
No, so Pete was running his own mental health group called Chew the Fat.
Chew the Fat.
In Ashford, and it was from speaking to him that we sort of had a conversation about bringing Dad Space to Ashford.
Cool.
He was actually closing Chew the Fat down due to work commitments and stuff like that. And he said, look, if you ever want any help, I could probably help out once a month, maybe. Amazing. And I said, well, our sessions are once a month. So it sort of went on from there, really. Yeah. And he's been running that one ever since, which has been absolutely fantastic. And
so the Ashford one, is it like, obviously, within the original one in Maidstone, you either do it in a pub in the daytime, and you go for these walks and things. So Ashford, whereabouts is that one held?
Yeah, so that one's held at a place called Repton Connect. So it's a community centre. Okay. It's actually the only location where we actually use a community centre.
Cool.
The rest of our venues that we use tend to be like rugby clubs, function rooms of pubs and stuff like that. Just because I feel to get engagement from guys, it's just something they're familiar with, and it's not about having a beer or anything.
No,
like
I've
that.
never had I don't drink anymore, but when I go to these days, there's no alcohol involved.
No, it's just
teas and coffee.
Teas and coffee. You know, it's over in a morning and that. Yeah. So it's just about getting the environment that's private for one, and that I think guys feel comfortable in. Yeah. So it seems to work. But at Repton, that's like I say, that is in a community centre. That really worked because that's where Pete was running Chew the Fat, so it made sense to keep it there. Yeah. And it's a brilliant venue, and we do some walks around there, some lovely woodland to go around, do our walks there as well. So that was really how we launched Ashford. So since then we've had Maidstone and Ashford running.
Cool.
Up until last year, so up until 2024, when we was fortunate enough to get some funding.
Yeah.
From the Kent County Council.
Which is amazing. That's hard work.
Yeah.
And like, you won't say it on camera, but you worked, you and Michael behind the camera.
Yeah.
You both worked extremely hard.
Yeah.
To get this funding, which is a massive help.
Yeah.
It's not a huge amount of money, but my goodness, it's helped, isn't it?
Yeah. To allow us to grow.
Yeah.
We needed some funding, and we've also been supported by Medway Council as well. So that's enabled us to grow and open up more locations. Yeah. So since, like I say, Maidstone and Ashford, we launched Faversham in August last year.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
We then launched Medway in October.
Okay.
Folkestone in December last year.
Yeah.
Tunbridge Wells in March this year.
Nice.
And we are set to launch in Dartford in July.
Amazing.
So that'll be another.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's our next one. Yeah. So, and we also have we do also have a family venue that we use over in Sevenoaks.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Go on, talk to that.
Yeah,
because obviously the meetings are obviously dads.
Yeah.
And it's talking for a couple of hours, going for a walk, having a chat about being a dad just generally. But obviously, you know, we're dads and we have kids at home and a wife at home or a partner at home, etc. And you say we do these, Dad Space does family events.
Yeah. So there's a brilliant venue called Rutes, the Lost Gardens of Sevenoaks.
Yeah.
And Simon, who runs it over there, has been an absolute dream to us.
Is Simon, big up to Simon.
Massive.
What a guy.
Yeah, he really is, because what he's done to support Dad Space and promote, he raises funds for us over there for donations and giving us a space over there that so we can hold meetings. It's just been absolutely brilliant. And as all of our venues as well, I must say, all of our venues that give us these spaces to hold our sessions, you know, I must say a massive thank you to them.
Where we are at the moment.
Where we are at the moment,
we're in a very, very, very nice place, and we get this free of charge, and they've been extremely good to you, haven't they?
Exactly, yeah. So no, Rosewater Place, must say a massive thank you to Rosewater Place, Barchester. What a lovely place this is. So we like I say, we launched that. Yeah, the place called Rutes. So we host Easter
Yeah.
events, summer events,
Yeah.
Halloween and Christmas at Rutes. And these are really great opportunities for the dads to bring the rest of the family unit along. So you get a chance to meet the kids, partners and stuff like that. And, do an Easter egg hunt with the kids.
Yeah.
And
Christmas is good fun.
Christmas one's really good. And we do a brilliant event there in the summer. So called the Dad Space Gardens Summer Garden Party.
Really good fun.
And we have live music.
Yeah.
We have reptile charity come down so kids get a chance to hold the reptiles.
Yeah, we're not overly keen on that, to be honest.
Not snakes, no.
I'm not a massive fan of the snakes.
And we have a face painter come down.
Yeah.
We have a raffle.
Yeah.
So we have all sorts of things going on there in the summer. So
this is put on at, say it again?
At Rutes, the Lost Gardens of Seven
and
Oaks.
Simon helps you. He helps a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Love
That is a great addition to what we do. So we've now got 6 monthly meetings that we host for Dad Space now, and then obviously the 7th with the family venue at Rutes.
Amazing.
And we also, a standard Dad Space meeting, I think it's good to obviously explain this, is our talking piece circle, which is what Dad Space is.
Yeah.
So if you're holding that stone when we go around the circle, that's your opportunity to speak.
You don't have to talk though.
No, absolutely no pressure. Right. You can say as much or as little as you want. But if you're holding that stone, no one interrupts you. It's your time. And then if people wish to respond to you, ask you a question, they wait till you finish, and then you have that conversation. Yeah. It flows really well, and it keeps everyone gets the opportunity to speak, and that's something that we're very, very passionate about. Is that everyone gets an opportunity to speak. Yeah. And the talking piece circles are present in all the meetings that we do.
Okay.
And alongside of that, we do walk and talks as well.
I like them.
Because like some dads may find it, they might not quite be ready to talk in a circle, and they might be, I don't know if I'm ready to talk yet. So whereas if you're doing a walk, the chances are you're probably going to be with one other person.
You're shoulder to shoulder with another guy.
Looking forward.
Yeah.
So you're not having to have eye-to-eye contact.
No, some people aren't comfortable with.
No. So by bringing that into the equation, that tends to work really well. So we combine that. Sometimes we start a session off by going for a walk for 45 minutes to an hour, come back, do our circle, or vice versa. Yeah. We might do the talking bit at the beginning, then go for the walk. So that's what we call like a standard Dad Space meeting. But we also do special events throughout the year. We sort of pepper these throughout the year, and we do gym sessions. Yeah. So we've got a fantastic gym called Fitter, Stronger, Faster gym up the Sutton Road, and it's a mixed martial arts gym. But what we do is we get the guys doing a bit of pad work, getting the guys on the pads, just releasing, the endorphins and that, and just as we know, exercise has such a positive impact on your physical health and your mental health.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring them in, because I thought they're a great addition to what we do. Yeah. And again, we'll do our talking piece circle, and we'll do that in the boxing ring. We've got a boxing ring in the gym, so the guys will sit on the floor, and we'll do that, and it just taps into other dads who might not be comfortable coming to what I call our standard sessions. If you do it in a gym, you're doing it in the environment that they are familiar with.
Exactly.
So we do gym sessions. We also do archery. So we do brilliant archery session, which generally has a real good uptake. Yeah. And again, it's just getting guys outside, being active, having a bit of fun.
And then talking to each other in between.
Still doing the talk, and then we still got our talking piece circle there that runs bushcrafting, which...
See, I did that. I did that. That was at Ashford, wasn't it?
That was at Ashford, yeah.
And who's the guy that's been really good and helpful, and what's his name?
So his name's Craig, from Black Wolf Survival is the name of his organisation, yeah.
So it was sit around a fire, wasn't quite sure. At the time, I was feeling quite down, etc. Deborah said, come down to Ashford. So I went down to Ashford and didn't know anybody there apart from you. Yeah. quite a lot of people. 32
dads we had come to that one.
That was mad. Sitting around a campfire, so you just couldn't get any more male environment. Yeah. And there was all ages as well. There was probably the youngest guys, 28, 29? And then there was older guys as well. Yeah. But I immediately felt comfortable. Don't know, just weird. Sitting around the fire, it was a nice evening, and learning a few skills off this guy. Yeah. sort of things that you only see on television, like Bear Grylls does and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. It just sort of broke the ice a little bit.
Yeah.
And then sort of everybody opened up afterwards about how they were feeling about whatever was going on in their lives, etc. That's a really good one. I'm
really pleased we did that. And it's just something quite manly in there about being around a fireplace.
Yeah.
Like men like to feel.
But I couldn't start the fire still. I
was rubbish.
Was pretty awful at that, yeah. Just got my lighter out. Yeah, it was terrible. Absolutely awful. But,
so that was a really good addition actually in that. And we're going to do some more of them and do a little barbecue and bits and pieces to add a bit to it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we brought that in. And we also do charity football matches.
Yes,
as well. Yeah, which have been a real great way to sort of fundraise for Dad Space, to sort of raise funds and get the dads involved. We've had dads. I think the first one we did, first charity match we did a couple of years ago, there was guys there who've been coming to Dad Space who've never played football before.
Yeah, I can think of 2 or 3 straight away.
Do you know what I mean? But they wanted to go out there and get on the pitch and be, and that for me, that is exactly what Dad Space is about. And again, doing the talking piece circle in the changing room beforehand was quite a special moment, because when we did that first one, it almost, you see all these faces around the changing room from some guys who haven't been to Dad Space for a few months. And it really told a story of seeing everyone going around there and just sharing about how Dad Space has helped them. Yeah. And it sort of made you appreciate how sort of big it had got by the time we'd sort of gone around the circle. And it was a real, one of the proudest moments, I think, that was for us.
I was going to say that. That is a real moment of, because the games are played at, where you've played at.
So we played at a few places, but the most we played at is Gallagher Stadium in Maidstone. So we played there a few times now. And
under the lights, etc.
Under the light, and it's quite special, something about playing at a proper stadium, going out there. And what was really nice was having the opportunity to walk out with your kids. Yeah. So I was able to walk out there with my 2 girls, and we're all getting a bit older now, so you don't know how many, how much, there'll be a time where I won't be able to play anymore.
What I liked is that, for example, our friend Stuart, great footballer, same age as us now, legs are a little bit slower, shall we say, but it was nice to see both his boys were playing. Yeah. So some of the older kids come along. Like obviously your 2 came along as mascots, etc. But it was just so nice that you got the boys and involved and playing. And obviously it helps you. Yeah,
having younger legs definitely helps out. Yeah, getting 390 minutes.
But that's a really nice thing to
father and sons on the football.
That's powerful.
Yeah. I had quite a few dads actually of Andy Huggins and Stuart and that say the same thing.
Yeah.
Just because obviously as you get older, it makes you appreciate things more in life, and and like you say, there'll be a time where you won't be able to play football anymore like that. So savor those moments, because when you look back, there'll be pictures and videos, and you'll look and say, "Look, we play football together. Yeah. Play football with my son on a pitch." I mean, that's
it's so lovely to watch. Yeah, lovely. Because obviously I was on the door, etc., and it was so nice looking across, seeing Stu training with his boys, etc., and Ben with etc. It's so nice, and then people coming through the door that are coming to see whoever Dad Space. So who do you play? Sometimes you play other.
Played other sort of organisations and charities and that, Excellent. So quite a few different sort of teams and that,
So those sort of friends and family of the other team coming through saying, "What is Dad Space?" Yeah. And then me just sort of giving them the 30-second. Yeah. And they're like, so needed. Yeah. So needed. But in that, as you say, men relaxing in that environment that they like.
Exactly that, and football's most popular, one of the most popular sports in the world, and obviously in the UK. Yeah. It's massive, and like the gym sessions, the football's a massive pull to get dads in again. So we're tapping into a load more dads there by doing the football and stuff like that. So I'm very aware that not one size fits all with Dad Space.
Of course not.
So by offering quite a few different things, I like to think there'd be at least one thing, if not everything that you might. Some dads would be like, "I like all of this. I want to go to all of them." Yeah. Brilliant. All these different I absolutely love, which we do get. And other dads, actually, no, the gym sessions are right for me. I don't really feel comfortable going to any others, or the football, or the bushcrafting,
or the walk and talk,
archery. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, if you can just tap into these things and just sort of offer something different, you're just opening it up to more dads to feel welcome and
Amazing.
opening that door.
Yeah,
if you like. Yeah,
amazing.
So that's what. Yeah.
So you got your funding from where was?
Yeah, Kent County Council we have funding from, and Medway Council, which is
massively helped towards pushing you having like one in Mates and one in Ashford. Now you've gone to different areas of Kent.
Yeah, that's massively helped us. Yeah, so like I say, up until June of last year, we had Ashford and Maidstone. Now we've expanded obviously into those new
Dartford's
locations.
coming soon.
Dartford's coming soon.
Do
yeah.
you have a venue for that, or?
I have got a venue for that. Yeah, Dartford Rugby Club have been very kind to give us a space there. So
again, a real male environment.
Yeah,
but to see a sign like this up, in near the bar, etc., and it just takes a guy to stand at the bar, buying a pint, and looks at it and goes, I need a bit of that.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think I've touched on this before. I do wonder. And obviously, as we know, the whole pandemic, the effects that it had on everyone's health, mentally and physically, was a very, 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 very tough time. But I don't know. Say that pandemic hadn't happened, I don't know whether Dad Space would have had the impact that it had.
You'll never
know. No, or as the uptake, maybe it might not have been so big. If I don't know, because mental health wasn't being spoken about before, especially with men.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
But we don't know, but it's since, and obviously as we come out, everyone was talking about mental health more and men struggling, and
it's still a long road.
It's still a long road, but I feel like it's slightly better.
I think you turn a corner a little bit with it.
Yeah, and obviously we're quite niche because obviously we target dads, but like we always say as well, if you're not a dad and you need somewhere to come along and talk, or just want to come for a walk, you're welcome. Yeah, we would never turn anyone away if they want to come along and have a space to just be part of something. And the thing is as well, not everyone's got a big friendship group. I mean, we're lucky, right?
We are very lucky.
We've all known each other for the best part of 30 years.
Yeah, and
friendships are the same as like similarities to a relationship with your partner. You got to work at them. You got to make the effort with your friends to stay in touch, meet up, and stuff like that. And I'm very proud that we've got that as friends. But not everyone's got that, and that's not their fault. It could be they've moved to the area, moved up north down.
Yeah,
and they might work from home. They don't see a lot of people. But what Dad Space does, it enables you to connect with other dads. You can build friendships. I've had stories of dads coming to Dad Space, and their situations at home may be very similar with what's going on in their personal lives. And then you see something pop up in the message that they've both gone out for a drink together on a Saturday night. They've made a friend. And I think like, well, that's
amazing.
If nothing else, we've just done that, and two blokes have managed to.
I've said
create
that to you
a friendship.
Before. I've said that to you before. That blows my mind. That because of your idea, and not blowing smoke, but because of your idea, all these guys get together, as you say, and some people aren't as lucky to have a massive social group, or they work from home. And those two guys have got together and gone, let's go in for a pint, or let's go and see a band.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Exactly,
that's powerful.
Yeah, or just go for a coffee.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's or there might be a sport that they're interested in. I mean, I've seen guys going out for a run together, like that and stuff. So it's just that when I see things like that, I think like, you know what, that makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah,
and it really does. It really does. I mean, like I said, we have guys coming to Dad Space who are really are struggling and need some help, and obviously. If we don't give advice at Dad Space, but we are able to signpost to people to professional services as and when needed. But equally, we've got dads coming who just want to connect and just have friendship. And it is so broad, Dad Space. It is the whole spectrum. Do you know what I mean? As well as it is with the types of dads that we have. For everything from an expecting to granddads.
Yeah.
So each session, you don't know what you're going to expect in terms of who's coming. It's because that's the beauty of fatherhood is. We're all on different paths and different stages of being a dad.
Yeah.
But one thing that we've all got in common is we're all dads.
Yeah.
And that's what I love is that whatever whatever stage of things are going on in your life, one thing you can say, everyone in that room there, we've all got something in common, guys. That brotherhood with Dad Space is we're all dads, and that's a lovely feeling. But you see people in a session, their shoulders drop, and seeing like the release just go over their faces, like I'll just let that. And obviously it's tough sometimes when people are letting off stuff that they've been holding in, but it's also like an element of joy with it, because it's almost like you've now let that go. Yeah, you've put it out there.
I totally understand that totally, because I've struggled with as I said earlier, I've struggled with my mental health, etc. And I'm lucky. I've got the same sort of group of friends as you, and I've got other groups of friends, etc. And I struggled originally with being a dad, etc. And I think that's something that triggered it again. And just to release how I felt at one of the sessions in front of people I didn't know, or people I've known for 30 years, etc. It just felt good. It felt good afterwards. Powerful.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, as well, to be vulnerable in a space is such a strength. That's the thing that I try to get across to people. If you're walking into Dad Space, you don't know anyone, right? You're walking into a group of strangers, and if you're able to then share and show your vulnerability, that is such a strength. And and I just always say to people, be really proud of yourself that you've come here tonight and you've shared something, because that's so brave. Yeah, I think.
Right, we're just gonna take a small break there, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. So we have known each other quite a long time. Yeah. I think we drove in my brown Fiesta.
Which TalkSport?
Which you look. Well, back then I don't think TalkSport existed.
No.
It can't be 29 years, is it? How old's Tom Cruise now then? He must be really old. The bit on the train where the train's dangling off.
I love all the films. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, Simon Pegg is brilliant.
Yeah, he's good fun, isn't he?
Very funny guy.
Yeah. I think it was interesting when we had Sanna on doing the Dad Talks about talking about Tom Cruise and saying what a lovely guy he was.
Oh, right.
He's a perfectionist, isn't he? And obviously the fact that he does...
At the age of 16...
Yeah, still doing all of his own stunts. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Sure, that's the
second one?
Yeah.
Is that the one when they go to New York?
Yeah. It's nearly as good as Jaws 2.
We could literally do a whole podcast on our films that we like and how great they are, but then how bad they are.
But also as well, with
Jaws 2 is awful then, but
yeah, but it's not as bad as Jaws 3. But
do you think they'll ever bring up the rubber shark again?
It's a brilliant film, though.
Yeah,
no,
I get that.
Got to look past the shark, Yeah. But what I don't understand,
the shark that used to break down.
That's the one, yeah. What I don't understand is how they made Jaws, the original Jaws, in 1975, right? And how the sharks in the later films looked more fake than the original one, because you think with technology as the years went on that the sharks would look better.
Have they always been, forgive me, what's the word? A proper machine, like a puppet. It's not a puppet.
It's a puppet.
It's a puppet. Who was that? Brian Connolly.
Brian, not to be confused with Billy Connolly.
No, who's much funnier.
Brian Connolly. Yeah. For me, I wouldn't want the original Jaws to be rebooted
because it's so great.
It's such a classic.
The poster is one of the most iconic posters.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, and it was probably, I think they say as well, the first what they call blockbuster film. Yeah, and it was the highest grossing film until Star Wars came out,
which is a much better
2 years
film.
later.
Is a much better film.
If you like starships and
have you ever actually
had gremlins on space and things like that?
Have you actually ever take my glasses off? Have you ever actually watched it all the way through?
No, I'll tell you why.
Exactly. So how can you comment?
But I'll tell you for why. Because I find it boring. I watch it for about half an
so a
hour.
20-foot shark killing people was not?
No, yes, tense.
Get out of the water. Don't go in the water.
Well, it's more realistic than Star Wars, isn't it?
It's about the future then. People are going to be watching this on their spaceships in 200 years' time.
Anyway,
right. Where were we? We're back. So you touched on earlier that 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? You said
about
4 years ago.
Yeah.
You thought of Dad Space, but you quickly realised that you may need a little bit of help, etc., with other bits and pieces that go with creating such a brand. It is a brand, isn't it?
It's a brand, yeah.
So you've got. He doesn't want to be on camera, but say hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
There we go. That's Michael. Do you want to explain?
So Michael, for those of you who can't see him, is the co-director in Dad Space now, and that relationship sort of really started. So my wife Nina cuts Michael's wife's hair,
right?
And Nina mentioned to me that if you're looking for someone to help you design a logo for the Dad Space, Michael might be able to help you. I was like, right, okay. So me and Michael had a chat, and Michael came up with a few different designs. We had a good chat about what Dad Space is, and he then come up with the logo design that you see now. And then Michael added the brotherly support between fathers, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, that is a real good tag
because it really does make you feel like you're part of something.
Yeah, it's clever.
So that was how that sort of relationship sort of come, and then Michael started working on some sort of posters for me for the first meeting, and then for the next few meetings. And we was chatting again one day, and I think I was about to host the second meeting just before Christmas. Yeah. So sort of like in between. No, it was in between Christmas and New Year.
Okay.
And Michael goes, "Oh, do you know what? I might come along to one of your Dad Space meetings." I was like, "Oh, yeah, go on."
Yeah.
So he was going for a walk. I think, you come to that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, come along, mate." He goes, "Because just to sort of really understand what it's all about." And ironically, since that second meeting that we had for Dad Space, I don't think Michael's missed a session since then.
Amazing.
You know, in the 3.5 years that we've had meetings. So it's been quite a massive moment, really. And from that moment, I think Michael sort of really understood what Dad Space was.
Totally.
And sort of then bought into it. And that relationship really sort of started to sort of flourish from that moment on. And Michael got more heavily involved and was helping me out with a lot of stuff. He then went on to create a website for us, which is absolutely amazing.
Obviously, all brands need.
Yeah. And, I realised after about a year in, once we set up Dad Space as a community interest company, that, I wanted Michael to be involved in it as much as me. So
definitely,
I invited Michael to become a co-director, which he now is. And
amazing.
we've been growing it ever since there and since then. And I honestly say, to grow something, you can't do it by yourself. I understand that, but you need to have people around you who you trust, who believe in Dad Space for what it is,
which Michael does.
Yeah, and you need to be like the captain of your ship. You need to going forward, but you also need people to steer you in the right direction sometimes. Yeah. Prop you up when you might be falling down a bit, and that's what Michael, all the volunteers that we have as well. I've got to mention Rob.
A lot of these guys are dads. Would you say that have come along? Have come along to a meeting.
Yeah,
and found out, like Michael did, found out about Dad Space, etc., and now wanna obviously still come to the meetings and these events that you all do, but at the same time contribute. To running this brand. Like you said, like what does we say, Rob?
So Rob Sharp, he came to us a couple of years ago and said, "Look, I want to be able to help more if I can, like that." So he got heavily involved with all of our sort of accounts. He's superb at all that side of things. So he's really helped us out with a few grants, sort of apply for bits and pieces. And also we've had there's a guy who does all of our posters now and stuff like that called V.
Yeah.
So V come on board around the same time as Rob. So he volunteers and he creates all these wonderful posters for Dad Space that you see going out on social media and bits and pieces. And and obviously, as I touched on earlier, Pete Bailey, who runs the Ashford location. We have a fantastic facilitator called Kenny, who runs Faversham for us.
Brilliant.
We have a guy called Scott Banks, who massively helps us out as well with promoting Dad Space and co sort of hosting events for us with Dad Space.
So will you be, when you say it's exciting news, I didn't know, the exciting news about Dartford. it's going to be up and running. So
Yeah.
will you be sort of doing the first few meetings?
Yeah. Whenever we open up a new location, I'll always set them up.
Yeah.
So I always would run them for 2 or 3 months, and then the plan is for us always to have these host ambassadors to sort of run the sessions for us.
Yeah.
So fortunately enough, I've got a good friend of ours who you know well, Wayne.
Yeah.
Who is sort of offered to run Dartford for us.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
brilliant. That's
yeah.
great
So,
news.
so he's coming on board.
Top guy.
Yeah. To sort of be part of the Dad Space volunteers groups really.
Yeah.
So no, it's like I say, for me, it's trust.
Yeah.
You know, I need people to buy into what Dad Space is and believe in it and want to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. We have another volunteer called Kieran who has been fantastic for us at sort of networking events for Dad Space, which is another sort of side of it we really want to sort of push. So yeah, we've been really, really lucky with people offering their services, coming forward and wanting to help Dad Space and, you know, realise how important it's helped them and want to grow it. Yeah. You know, and I think that's what's fantastic with it.
That's
really,
amazing, mate. That's great news. So when's Dartford going to be?
Hopefully we're looking at sort of July time. I think realistically.
So what are we at the moment? We're May 2025.
Yeah.
So July this latest.
I'd like to think by July we should hopefully have Dartford off the ground.
Once a month.
Once a month, like the other ones.
Do you have a venue that you can mention now, or are you still trying to find a venue?
Yeah, that's at the rugby club.
That's the rugby club. Sorry,
yeah,
you did
yeah. That's at the Dartford Rugby Club. So they've been very kind to offer us a space on a Saturday morning. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Earlier touched on we were talking about what made you think of Dad Space and why you wanted to do it, and you sort of touched on that you were having your second child, etc. But was there a point which made you? Because it's a big. This is not like this is not like working in an office or this is not a normal job.
It's definitely not a normal job. No,
is it? It's not 9 till 5.
No,
as your family and wife and I know. And where are you tonight, Denver? I'm down Tunbridge Wells, etc. It's not 9 till 5. It's very, might have a day which is a bit quieter day, then you might have a full-on day, etc. But was there a certain point where, because it's a big jump to do, and I know what you were doing previously, and it was fine, but it wasn't something you really were passionate about. So was there a point where you really thought to yourself, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do Dad Space. I'm going to give it a go. Was there a point, or?
I mean, the point would have been when I had that conversation with my wife, with Nina,
of course,
and my mates and stuff like that, and it was that light bulb moment of I knew that it was something that I believed in, and I knew it was needed. But something that gave me the courage to
because it does take some doing.
See, I think you know me well, and I've always said I've always sort of shied away from challenging myself, I think, and always gone for easy options in life.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think. Yeah, go on.
You know, that's something I've always felt. I mean, we touched on like school was never particularly a enjoyable time for me. Academically, I tended to just shut off from things really, and I carried that forward into my adulthood. And with this, I really wanted to give it my all, but I'll sort of go back. So the real thing that gave me the courage to start Dad Space was I decided to do a white collar boxing fight.
Yes.
So
I remember this.
Which is 6 years ago now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
God,
6 years ago now. So I've always been a massive fan of boxing.
Yeah.
Like me and my dad, always watching the Ben Eubank fights.
Amazing.
I remember my dad getting me up in the middle of the night to listen to the Tyson Bruno.
Oh,
but we didn't have Sky. Not many people could afford Sky in those days. So we had this little portable radio. So we were downstairs listening to it on that.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was. I just remember that moment. My dad in his burgundy dressing gown. I remember that. Yeah, nice burgundy dressing.
Strong. Yeah.
And just sitting there huddled around this little radio, and just being fascinated by boxing, and just loved never, at that age, I never really was into football then.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used to love athletics and I used to love football and boxing.
Yep.
And so it sort of stuck with me. And I've always said I wanted to sort of be a boxer as a kid. I always say it like that, but obviously
I've never thought that about myself, to be honest.
But never did anything about it. And my parents obviously never encouraged it. But it was always there. And then Nina started going to this gym, Fitter, Stronger, Faster.
Which is where sometimes Dad Space holds one of the meetings.
Where we hold our meetings, for the gym sessions.
All coming together.
Yeah. And she come back one day and said, oh, they're going to be doing a white collar event. I was like, all right.
Just explain to people that might not know what white collar event means.
So white collar event, I think it stems back from, it used to be like what you call office gentlemen.
Yeah.
That would, I believe.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, something about they would like take up boxing, I think, like that. And obviously never done it before or something like that. It was something around the terms of white collar. It was something to do with that. But it's basically people that have never boxed before, ultimately, taking up a challenge and putting yourself in the ring. Yeah. And so Nina come back and said to me, look, they're doing this white collar thing like that. And she wasn't trying to encourage me to do it. I went, all right. She said, why are you saying that? I said, I think I quite fancy that. She went, you're joking, aren't you? I said, no.
How old were you then? Do you mind telling
us? So I'm 46. So yeah, I was 40.
40. Which to start our boxing's probably a little bit late in life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So it was basically a 10-week program.
Amazing.
That you sign up for, and then at the end of it, obviously, if you've trained as well as you can, you'll get paired up with someone to have a fight.
And I remember you trained.
Yeah.
You look good as it is, but
that was,
but you were in core. Was it quite?
Yeah. I mean, I'd honestly say that whole training process is one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's just a whole different. They always say, don't they? Boxing is like, if you want to get yourself fit. Take up boxing. Because it is a fantastic way to get fit. So I signed myself up for this training program, and then you start doing some sparring, and that was to sort of get used to standing there while someone's sort of throwing punches at you. Your natural reaction is to sort of turn your head to the side and get out of the way of it. Yeah. But you have to sort of look past that and just sort of keep looking forward. It was so many things, and it was a real, I definitely struggled probably the most, I think, out of the group with the fitness side of it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think you did?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, just because my cardio has never been great and that, but I
you've always been strong though, haven't you?
Strength wise, okay, but the cardio, I feel I really struggled with it. And I remember sparring this guy Dave at the early stages, and he absolutely battered me. And at the end of it, I went to Dom. Dom's the guy, obviously, who owns the gym, Fitter, Stronger, Faster. Fantastic coach, professional MMA fighter. The guy he knows his stuff. He knows how to train people.
Been good for Dad Space as well, hasn't it?
Massive for Dad Space. Giving us a space. Yeah. And I said, Dom, I'm not going to fight Dave, am I? Like that. And he goes, no, mate, don't worry, I won't put you in with Dave like that. At the end of the process. So I was like, right, anyway. So I carried on, and a few people sort of fell at the wayside. They didn't complete the 10-week programs.
Yeah.
You find people.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. Do you want to commit yourself?
Real commitment. Yeah.
Real commitment. And there was this particular one time, and I was sparring this one guy, and I had this real feeling of feeling claustrophobic. Like he was sort of coming forward at me, and I was just I wanted to just run away because he just kept coming, and I was sort of taking his punches.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get out of the way of him.
Oh.
And I sort of had to stop, took myself off to the toilet.
Yeah.
And I felt my nose was bleeding off, and I was sick.
Right.
And I was crying.
Right.
And I head over the toilet.
I'm not a sportsman. This doesn't sound great.
No. And I was there, and I got up, and I walked out the toilet door, and the gym was to the right of me, where they were all sparring, and the front door was straight in front of me. And I wanted to just get out of there. I thought, like, right, just go. This, you can't do this. This is too hard. And that was the moment where things changed for me, because I said to myself, no, you're not going to run away this time. You're not going to give it half-hearted. You're going to go back in there and finish it.
Jeez.
And that was the moment where I I took myself back in there and I carried on sparring and I made it to I completed the 10 weeks of training.
Yeah.
And then I got paired up with the guy Dave, who
Dom says, no, don't worry, mate. I'm not going to put you in the ring.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you in there with Dave. And he paired me up with Dave because I started to have PT sessions with Dom, which massively helped me to sort of reach me up to a relative level. Yeah. And so I ended up fighting Dave. And
Dave's quite a bit younger than us, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Dave would have been probably 32 or 33 at the time.
Okay.
So about 7 years, seven or 8 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And we'd done I managed to survive the 3 rounds. Just to complete the 10 weeks of training is a massive achievement. Then to get in there and do the fight, I lost the fight, but only the fight in the ring. I won the fight myself.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
Because I walked out of that ring back to where my friends and family were, where you was there. They were, and I was crying my eyes out. And I remember,
I think I was as well. I think a lot of the boys were as well, because to see your friend in a ring, we all like boxing, we've all got an opinion. We've all got an opinion about everything. But to see your friend all of a sudden in a ring, and you go, oh no, okay. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. Yeah, and it really hit me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't ever do it again, please.
No, no, don't plan.
No, you're not doing it. Not for your 50th or something like that.
But I remember walking off, and I can't remember. I think it was my father-in-law, Pat, said to me, "It's all right, mate. You've done really, really well. Why are you crying? Why are you upset?" And I said, "I'm not." And it's like I just carried on walking back, and Nina knew. She goes, "He's not crying because he's upset that he lost.
Yeah,
he's crying because he's happy that he completed it." And I'd done something to the best of my ability, and saw it through to the very end. And that's probably the first time I'd ever done that. And it was such a for so many days, for even for years afterwards, I still thought about that I'd done that.
Yeah,
I'd done that.
Yeah,
and I even look back sometimes and watch it and think, like, God, I feel quite scared.
Do you watch it back? Do you watch it back?
I've done for a while.
That's ridiculous. Don't ever do that.
When I have watched it,
I don't ever want to see that.
I actually feel quite scared for myself watching it.
Oh no, I did. Yeah. I'll tell you now. I was absolutely like, oh no, he's in the ring. Oh, okay.
I think it's worse for people watching it than it is doing it.
I don't know. I think you're in the ring.
Well, yeah, but it's sort of but it was a moment in time and a moment that I'll never forget doing that, because it was all on me. I had to put myself through that. But the reason I talk about this is because I honestly don't believe I would have had the courage to have started Dad Space if I hadn't gone through that process.
Wow.
Because, and don't get me wrong, Dad Space is hard work. It is hard work. Of course it is, but it has to be hard work. If anything that is worth doing is hard work.
Yeah.
But whenever there's times where you think this is getting too much, or it can get a bit too, you think like, well, I've done that. I've gone through that training program. I put myself in the ring. If you can do that, you can do this.
Of course, yeah.
I know it's different, but in terms of your head, getting your head right, I honestly believe that I needed to have that journey, to take me to where I am now with this.
That's amazing. No. That is truly amazing. Can we just stop a second? So you were saying earlier that Dad Space has had fundraising events, football, other bits and pieces that you do to raise money for Dad Space. And obviously now you've got some funding from Kent County Council, as we touched on earlier. But you've done some other bits and pieces through Dad Space before you got your funding to raise money. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, we did a walk up Scarfell Pike to raise funds for Dad Space.
Excellent.
At the time, we had a few very small donations. So we wanted to raise some more funds just to sort of give us to allow us to continue really to keep sort of Maidstone and Ashford going. And so we raised over £2,500 for Dad Space by doing this walk up Scarfell Pike, and it was.
So how many dads was that?
I think there was 15 dads,
Wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and another great way to challenge and sort of similar to like the boxing, I suppose, putting myself in a challenge, but getting other dads involved and just being part of something, and then to be able to raise funds for what we're doing. It was it was another real special moment, like I was saying about the football match, when we did our first football match, that moment of when we all sort of reached the top of Scarfell Pike, and we had our flag there, and we was all standing there together. It's quite a moment, and
that's not an easy walk, is it?
No, it's quite challenging.
We've done that before.
Yeah,
but that is a.
It was challenging, but so worthwhile, and it's just a great experience, really, like that. So, yeah,
amazing. But then obviously now you've got your funding, but you're still going to be raising money, doing events.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else?
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of funding, I mean, we're very aware that Dad Space, we for us to be able to operate, we need funding and we need donations, and we're very open to sponsorships, any companies and stuff like that want to be involved to partner with Dad Space. We're very, very positive and want that, because we realise that we want really a company to be interested, that believes in what Dad Space is and wants to be associated with
not
this.
just a sponsor, but somebody that invests in it.
Exactly that. We're very, very fortunate that like Byford Roofing, for example, has very kindly got involved, and they partner us and they sponsor us for quite a few bits and pieces, which is fantastic. But we're very, very conscious that the more we can do to bring that sort of side of it in is adds great value to what Dad Space is. Totally. But we're doing another fundraising event, and this one's up. This one is Penny Fan. In Brecon Beacons.
Yeah. So another walk.
Let's
not call it a walk, a hike.
Yes, a hike.
It's an incline.
Yes. That was definitely a hike when we did Scarfell Pike, I can tell you, because we didn't do the normal route. That was definitely a hike.
Extreme.
Yes. So we're hoping for a slightly more leisurely trip this time. But so we're doing that in June, next month in June.
Yeah, amazing.
So we're really, really excited about that. So basically to continue, raising funds for Dad Space was what our initial sort of plan was. But we've now decided to change that. So now half of the money that we raise on our GoFundMe page, Just Giving page.
Thank you, Michael. All the details are on the screen.
We'll be half of those funds will be going to breast cancer now.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So we want to split those funds 50-50 with Dad Space.
Okay.
And breast cancer now. And the reason for that is about 3 months ago, my sister got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
And when you sort of receive that news, as a brother, and the whole family, you feel quite helpless, really, because
I can only imagine.
It's. I mean, you obviously my sister really well as well, and all your friends, the friends, and everyone. It's It's I think the thing is as well, as your parents get older, your mum and dad, your natural thing is to always to worry about them as they get older, like that, because you just do naturally as you get older. In that, their health, you want their health to be well, to live a long, healthy life. The thought of my sister sort of having any sort of illnesses, it never even crossed my mind.
You don't until it comes.
No. And she probably the same with me.
Yeah.
So it was a big shock, and like I say, you do feel helpless.
Yeah.
But when we decided that there was one thing I thought, well, there's something we can do. We can change what we're doing with this walk and not raise funds just for Dad Space. We could raise funds for something to do with breast cancer.
That's amazing.
So I spoke to my sister and I said, look, is there any organisations that we'd like to do this, that you would like us to raise funds for? And she chose Breast Cancer Now, and which I think is a fantastic charity. It really, really is. And I think it's great that we're doing that. We're able to. It's just a little something that I can do to help her, help other people that are going through breast cancer, the family, anyone that's sort of involved. Affects everyone. And associating it with Dad Space. Dad Space is ultimately about supporting families. That's what we do. So it goes hand in hand. This, it really does, bringing the two organisations together. So, I'm really pleased that we are doing this, and I really want to. I hope we can really sort of
definitely
raise as many funds as we can. We got a target of £3,000, and
I'm sure you're.
If anyone's in a position where they can donate, we very much appreciate it.
Michael, can we put all the details or a link or on the screen?
£800 so far.
Amazing.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, that's
£800.
I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know that.
No.
That's great, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, everyone's been so generous, and we've got quite a long way to go yet. We've got about just under 4 weeks, I think, till we actually do the walk. So the more funds that we can raise for both organisations.
And on the walk is similar people that were on the walk, the previous walk.
Yeah, we've got some new faces. It's ultimately dads, coming together and just coming together for Dad Space and for Breast Cancer Now. Really, it's just I say something. We did Scarfell Pike. It was a very special moment doing that. But the fact that we're able to do this, and I must just say as well, there's something that I'm very, very proud of is we're being joined by my sister Emily's partner Gary.
Yeah.
So I asked
Lovely
him. I said,
guy.
"Look, how would you feel about joining us? On the walk, because you're going through this as well as much as
we said, it affects. Obviously, Emily's going through it, but it affects everyone, doesn't it? Around.
And straight away he said, "Yeah, I'd love to," and I think that's brilliant that Gary's going to join us.
I didn't know.
Come along, be part of the team, and doing it for Emily. It's just a small little thing that we're able to do to give a little something back to her and to the charity.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that raises a lot of money for two extremely well worth causes.
Oh,
mate.
thank
well
you.
done.
Yeah, cheers.
Just have a break, see. I've got a lump in my throat.
MTV, but then it was called Saturday Mayhem or something.
Yeah, the pre thing.
Yeah, it went. Yeah, and then it sort of got cancelled, didn't it?
Things were different then, weren't they?
Yeah. Not like number 73.
I was on that.
It's on number 73.
I met Sandy Toxic.
Did you?
Taller than I thought she would be. And Neil Buchanan,
who
lived on the Ashford Road in Bearsted.
Yeah, Heart Attack.
Yeah. That's what made his money. So
anyway.
Yeah. We're done. Are we done?
I think we've probably chatted enough today, haven't we?
I believe so.
For the first Dad Talks podcast. Anything you'd like to say, Mark?
No, just thoroughly enjoyed it. Never done this before. Hope it's not too painful for people to watch. I've really enjoyed myself. You enjoyed yourself?
Absolutely. No, I really have. We both didn't know how this would work, did we? It really was sort of a trial and error type thing, but I feel like we've discussed a lot of topics and bits and pieces about Dad Space,
and hopefully we'll do more.
Yeah,
and bring in other dads.
Exactly. Yeah,
come along to some of the meetings, etc. Is that
that's absolutely what we want to do. We want to bring in other dads. It's called Dad Talks. We want dads to come in, share their stories, inspiring stories, life-changing stories. That's what these podcasts are about. But it was really good on this first episode just to touch on what Dad Space is, where it's come from, why it's here. And I think I feel like we've probably done that.
Michael, good, amazing.
And for more information for anyone who wants to come to a Dad Space meeting, or you just want to find out more. We've got all of our stories and links and everything on our website. So please visit www.dadspace.co.uk. All our events are free to book on. Go to our calendar, go to our news and our articles, and just have a look, and go to our Just Giving page if you want to donate to our charity walk that we're doing in June. But for now, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think you did really well.
No, I really enjoyed it. No, it's good. It's quite hard work though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite talking. It's quite.
Will you be back?
No, I'm not doing it.
That's it. That's enough. Let's do one.
No, I've had enough. Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. No, it's really good.
All right,
Enjoyed
I'm going to shoot off to the disco.
You might be coming out again. Come on. Okay. Trying to make a boxing.
Trying to
Move it along a bit.
To go without
Filming in photography in boat. Really, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Love that.
Covered Jaws. We covered Star Wars.
Yeah,
Jurassic Park.
I don't think that will come at the cut. I was thinking. What was it? I haven't said anything bad.
Actually.
Whatever. Oh, back, bloody back.